Welcome to part 2 of Ephesians 3. I'm excited to dig a little deeper, get a little more understanding, and empower you guys to pray this prayer with confidence. So again, in our last session, we covered what it looks like that Paul is praying this prayer to the Father, from whom all the families of the earth have their name. He's praying it for the church to be empowered with might by the Spirit, and he's praying it from the resources, the unlimited resources of the Father. So that's where Paul is headed, and next he's asking for something outrageous. He's asking for something that in verse 20 he says, this is to the one who can answer the stuff that are impossible to grasp and comprehend, but I still want you to understand it. I want you to love and pray these prayers because the Father put this in my heart. Paul could have said something like that. So Paul goes on to say, I want you guys together with all the saints. I want you guys to experience the love of God, the love of Christ, to comprehend it. That's the key, that you would comprehend with all the saints. So there's this corporate reality to this prayer that I think is easily missed. In the West, we're very influenced, very sort of conditioned by our postmodern, post-enlightenment, individualistic mindset where, oh Lord, I just want to experience your love for me. That's not what Paul's praying, though I think it's a legitimate prayer. What Paul is praying is saying, guys, chapter 4, where this is headed, chapter 6, the bride, chapter 4, the body grown up into maturity in the head. Where this is going, we're going to need to comprehend a love that surpasses anything that we're bringing to the table. Again, Paul is not saying, guys, I want you guys to taste to see a little bit of love, just so you could love your friend, your neighbor, your family better. Yes, but he's praying more than that. He's asking for the church to experience, to comprehend, to grasp the love the Father and the Son share. The love of Christ is all encompassing. It's the height, the width, the length, the depth of the love that God shares with God. John 15, Jesus gives us insight into what it looks like the Father and the Son loving each other. And he also tells them something outrageous. He says, guys, the same way the Father's loved me, he's loved you. The same intensity, the same quality, the same consistency. The love the Father and the Son share. Do we understand what kind of love this is? I don't think we do. The reality is we need the Holy Spirit. We need power in our inner man to experience, to understand that kind of a love that would go all the way to the end, to the cross, for the ones that he wants with him forever. That's the kind of love that we've been invited into. The Father and the Son have been sharing, experiencing it for millennia, for centuries, forever. They've never had a moment where they haven't loved fully and wholeheartedly, and we're being invited into that love. And Paul is saying, I want you guys to understand that love together, to comprehend it together, and then I want you guys to express it together to the world. That's what's going on. And so Paul is praying for something that we can't manufacture, something that the Holy Spirit has to do according to the riches of the glory of the Father, who's the Father of all the families of the earth. He is the one who came up with this, and he's the one who's going to fulfill it. That's the hope of the prayer. That's the aim, the background of the prayer is the Father who is the Father of all the families. He invented this idea called love, and he wants us to join him and his Son in this campaign for love to conquer all. And so here in this prayer, Paul is asking, he's inviting us to ask, and we would understand, we would comprehend with our friends, with our enemies within the body of Christ, experience that kind of love. Guys, if the whole church across the body of Christ, across the world, would know this love, would comprehend this love, would experience it together, would grasp it, would get caught up in it, would be swept up in it, that is revival. We're asking for the revival of the heart, the revival of love, the revival of the Father, the Son, gaining partners, gaining friends forever. This is where Paul is going. And again, you have to keep in mind, it's in context to chapter 1 and 2, where he's setting the big stage, the big picture. You've been predestined. You've been called. You've been invited and accepted in the beloved. The dividing wall is gone. We're one together, one body, being built up together as a dwelling place for God in the Spirit. And now he's asking that we will be filled with that kind of love. The fullness of God, Paul says in the next verse, that we will be filled with this kind of fullness for the mature bride to come forth. This is an outrageous prayer. It's more than your local church, more than your friendship group, though you can apply it to those contexts. It is the greater scheme, the greater storyline that Paul is addressing. The church then in chapter 4 would grow up into maturity. Chapter 5 would walk and be imitators of God. And in chapter 6, there'd be this preparation for war, this preparation to stand through the pressures of life. And so Paul is praying this last prayer of the book. So you have Ephesians 1 and Ephesians 3. Those two prayers are the catalyst for the book that give you an understanding of how Paul is praying for the church in light of the bigger storyline of redemption, bigger storyline of the church coming to her maturity. I'm excited to discuss this more. This is a packed prayer, and I'm encouraged by all you guys and the way you're praying this stuff and fasting and doing it together. Bless you all.